and welcome back to the Ask Dr. Renee Show, special edition. We never do Sunday evenings. We're doing Sunday night. And actually, if you watch the show, when we started the show, we used to be every Sunday night back in 2014, 15, 16, 17. So we are on Sunday night because that's when my guest was available. And she's such an important person that we said we will make the exception. So if you've never watched the show before, the show is here to motivate and inspire you to live the life you deserve. Because let's face it, this is not a dress rehearsal. This is the only one you have, so you might as well live it up. And you know my hashtag is live life you deserve. And in case you've never watched the show, June 6th is a big day. June 6th, I think it was 5 years ago. 5 years ago we had D Nice. 4 years ago, I think it was, we had Teddy Riley. So we usually do pretty good for the Black Music Month, for the month of June. So tonight is no exception. You probably don't know her name and haven't seen her, but you know her work. So tonight, my big sister, Joi Brown, is joining us. I'm so excited because I think I've asked her many years ago to do it, and then something happened. I didn't do it or something. So tonight we finally did. Thank you, Joi.
Thank you, Doc. Thank you. Anything for you. I was like, okay, I've got to do this. Just do it. So here I am.
Yes, I appreciate you. So I always tell everyone how I know everyone, but I will tell you guys right off the rip. So Joi and I met via Twitter, and some of this she doesn't know though. So Joi would tweet, and she would be at all these amazing shows, and I'm like following, like, she's at every concert I want to be at. And I'm just watching her tweet, and I'm just reading all the tweets and all of what's going on. And I'm like, wow. And I'm like, who's she, And at the time, as you guys do know, I do PR, but I used to do PR entertainment, and I did music artists. So, of course, I followed people in the music industry. And, we had meetings with A&R people at Atlantic Records and stuff. So I was like, naturally was like, oh, okay. And I followed her. And when I tell you, I was like, she is everywhere I want to be, she's at. So then I will not forget, she was at every single music show, it looked like. And I was a huge Music Soul Child fan. Huge fan. And I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. So somehow you used to tweet. Remember, we used to tweet about our shows. Yep. We would talk about Grey's Anatomy and I think Private Practice, whatever, all of them. We would tweet about them while they were on. We would live tweet. And so that's when we started speaking. And then my sister lived in Jersey, not far from her. And so I go, well, I'll be in town. And I'll never forget, we met at Build-A-Bear. I don't remember the name of the mall. Alicia would have to tell me. Do you remember the name of the mall?
I think wasn't it Garden State? Garden State Mall.
It might have been. So Alicia's that's my EP, and she'll type in the chat. She's probably watching. So she's right upstairs. but so we met at the mall, and her daughters just ran to me. Never met me a day in their life.
It was Garden State Mall. They were little. Wow.
I know, right? I know. They probably have no idea who I'm now, but I love that you post, so I get to see them growing and becoming such wonderful young ladies. But yeah, and so that's where we met in person. Come to find out, Joi was from Detroit. Alicia said, yes, I think it was Garden State.
It had to be. There's one place in Jersey just near me that has one.
And so, so she's from Detroit. So we found that in common. And, it was just crazy. So then, you guys, this is the most amazing thing. And I know she remembers this. My grandmother died, and it was a really big deal. At the time, Star Jones was tweeting me a lot too. And so Star had posted it that my grandmother died. And so a lot of people knew. And Joi asked me what funeral home. And I told her, I'm thinking she's asking me because she's from Detroit too. And it ain't that big of a city. No, she sends flowers to the funeral home. And then we done went to the funeral and everything. And she sends a message, said, did you get the flowers? I'm like, what flowers? I said to my mother, I go, Mom, my friend sent flowers. We have to find these flowers. And my mother's like, okay, well, we need to go back to the cemetery anyway. So we'll go back. And so we went to the cemetery and they weren't there. And we went to the funeral home. They go, these deliveries still just came. And lo and behold, her flowers had just arrived while we were at the funeral. So we got them. My mother put them on the table. My grandmother died in December, so they were on our table for Christmas dinner, and that's when they bloomed. And took a picture. I sent it to her. So I was just like, and my mother goes, "Wait a minute, you've never met this woman?" I said, "No, not yet." My mother's like, and she said, "I go, I know, Mom, it's just crazy." So this is why I tell everyone, please be careful with the internet. You might connect with people that can't get rid of you, because Joi can't get rid of me. And so I randomly text her. Look, I might text her twice in a whole year, but I will just randomly say something, and she's so kind to respond. And my sister, unfortunately, has left the Jersey area, but doesn't mean that we will not be visiting again and again and again. But yeah, so it was just amazing. Like I said, my sister was with me, so she met Joi too. And then every time I would go, we would try to connect. Remember, we had dinner, me, you, Angela, Renee, and Alicia. Yeah. We had a lovely time.
Show at Highland Ballroom.
Yes. Oh, the Highland Ballroom. She and Michelle didn't even know me that well then. And Angela Renee, it was you and Angela Renee. So they knew that I really liked music, and they teased me so badly at that show.
Oh, she fangirl though. She was a fangirl.
I was sitting there, my mouth was just, and then remember, his woman sat next to me, and I was like, God help us all. I was like, oh God, this is very uncomfortable.
It's okay.
Yes,
okay. She knew you were a fan. That's it. You know.
Yes, we had a great time though, and so it was awesome. But yeah, so that's the story. But Joi, what did you want to be when you were growing up?
You know, I thought I would be a judge. I thought I would be. You know why? Because I enjoy making sure like things are like handled fairly.
Okay.
Like I never want a person to be taken advantage of, and like, they're all small, you know. That's what you think of a judge does. You don't think the judge is like, you know, real serious stuff like murder and all that.
Right.
I just want the world to be more fair. And so, so I think I really want to be a judge. And then, as I got in high school, I wanted to be a dancer. Like I wanted to study dance, and I didn't know what I didn't say I want to go on Broadway or anything like that, but I just really loved arts. And then I thought I would be then I realized I wasn't shaped like a dancer, like a real serious dancer. I was a little too thick. So I said, okay, well maybe I'll be a broadcast journalist because I love Sue Simmons, who was on the news when I was growing up. And I was like, I was always fascinated with the news. My parents like, what do you want? I watch the news, all different stations. I know who would cover what. It was just so interesting.
Okay, so you decided to major in what?
So I started off in political science. I was a poli-sci major. And then I can't remember. I think I had a conversation with my dad, and he was like, what are you going to do with this major? Are you going to go into politics or whatever? And I was like, no, I don't want to go into politics. He's like, so what are you doing? But I just really, again, I loved law. And then by the time I got to college, I didn't want to go to law school. So I was like, I don't know what I want to do. And then my mom was like, well, you always love the news, and you like to talk. You'd be a great broadcast journalist. So I switched my major to broadcast journalism. And then I interned at CNN and hated news. I was like, oh, this is
what internships are for.
I was like, oh, this is what the news business is about? Because it just didn't have, like, you know, here I am, you know, I come from liberal arts, not in college, but like I was an artsy fartsy kid, right? So I studied dance, I played the violin, like, you know, so I was always in the arts. And then I think political science was just a challenge for me, and I just like challenges. But when I got to CNN, I was like, there's no creativity in this. Like, I have to write copy the way they tell me to write the copy. Like, I can't add color and, you know, embellish the story, make it interesting a little bit. And they're like, no, we report the news. I was like, okay, this is boring.
So you changed to broadcast journalism.
Mm-hmm.
And so then because I still need to know how you get there, right? Because I'm like, how did she get where she's at now?
Girl, listen. My career is like, it's a zigzag. It's like, you go to right thing, go to left thing, make a circle, come backwards, that kind of thing. Like it's not a straight line. And I'm here to tell anybody who thinks that you can plan your life according to how you think you want it to be. It doesn't work like that. It never happens like that. I mean, well, for me and my, let me say this, for me and my world, it doesn't happen like that.
Right. Me neither. I mean, everyone's like, Renee, you're a doctor, but you don't see patients. So,
listen, I know lawyers who don't study practice law.
Exactly.
So, so what I did was I just fell in love. I've always loved music. It's always been close to my heart. I've always played music. If I wasn't playing music, I danced to it. So, and it was just the way that I express myself. And it was my outlet through my teen years. And so, I went to Howard University, and while there, like in DC, it's like you're working for the government or you're working in politics. It's that.
Yeah.
So I ended up working at the Department of Defense, and I had this job that I hated. I actually dealt with pipelines in the reporting, right? And that's under the Department of Defense. Hated it. And I was like, but I was dibbling and dabbling in music. So I had started at the time I was dating this guy, and he was like one of the biggest promoters in DC. And I saw all the boys doing it. And I was like, oh, I got tons of sorors who I can tell come out to party, and I could do this too. So then I started, co-hosting parties with him. Then I started hosting parties by myself. And I was like, okay. And part of it was like, I would call like record labels. I'll never forget my first conversation I ever had was with Kedar Massenberg, who at the time, I forgot the name of his label. Don't kill me, Kedar. Shoot. But he had Erykah Badu, D'Angelo. This is when D'Angelo was like, new album. And he was on promo, y'all. So I call them and I'm like,
and I should know too, because Chico was my client, but I can't think of it right now either.
I can't remember.
Let's throw that up there for us.
Entertainment.
Yes.
Right. How can we forget that? Anyway, and so like, yeah. And then, Puffy had Bad Boy. And so I would just call people and say, hey, I'm doing this party.
Now wait, was Puffy at HU with you?
No, I came in as he was leaving.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So it was so funny because like, yeah. And I was like, okay, that was like my first taste of talking to people in the music business, but I didn't even know that's what I wanted to do. Then I had friends who were like, at that time, like Shy had been, they were big and,
wait, pause. So me and my sister are sitting at the kitchen table upstairs. Me and Alicia were home for Christmas, I think it was. And we had this it'd be 13-inch television at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it did have cable. And I guess we were playing BET or something. And we are watching Baby I'm Yours. See, it just came to me. Shy's video. And I said, Lish, wasn't that Joi? And Alicia's like, wait, what? And this is before DVRs, everyone, before you could rewind TV. So we glued ourselves to the television like, okay, pay attention because she got to come back. It came back again. Alicia goes, Renee, that is Joi.
Yeah,
I said, and so then I text her and was like, ma'am, you never mentioned you were in a music video. And plus, I knew they were from Howard too. So I was like, Alicia, that really is
her. Listen, that was my first and last. That was my first video and last. I was like, okay, this is not fun. Like, I was like, who wants to be a video girl? I didn't. I mean, those are my boys, still are. Like, I love them to death. But that was on some, Howard Love thing. And I was like, okay, this is, I got a chance to see the other side of it. I was like, these videos.
It's not for me.
It's not. I was like, and being in front of camera and having to be cute and do things over, that's not for me. I was like, that's not for me. So yeah. So, and then like Eric Roberson, I went to school with Eric Roberson.
Oh, he loves Chicago.
Yeah. And so
that man is in Chicago every other month.
Because that's the heart of R&B music, Chicago, Detroit, all those areas. Yeah. And so, so then I started working with his manager at the time. I was just trying to get in, like to figure out how to do it. One of my best friends, Darren, and I used to take, this is a true story. We wanted to get in the music business. So we decided we want to get in the music business. I didn't know what it entailed and didn't know what we want to do. We just knew that we couldn't do it in DC. And so we used to, like, on Thursday, we would call in sick to work on Fridays, or sometimes we would make it back. We would take the Greyhound bus to New York with no place to stay. Sometimes we would crash at different people's houses. And we crashed this Monica Payne's house. a couple times. We used to take the bus, come to New York. I would go to record label, sit in the lobby, try to pass out my resume, call people I know, whatever, to try to get a job. And then we'd get back on the bus like at 5 o'clock in the morning to get to DC, and I would go to work. I'd go from the bus to work.
At the Department of Defense.
At the Department of Defense. And then it wasn't working. Like nobody was taking me serious. I wasn't getting no callbacks. And then you know what? I don't know. I tell you, God, when you had to listen to I call them God winks. I don't know. I remember I had this revelation. Like God spoke to me, and I was like, I'm going to move to New York. I'm just going to move. No job, no interview. I'm just going to move. My goal was I was going to move to New York and get a job in the record business. And then if it didn't happen right away, I would just work at McDonald's or retail or whatever until I got in, right? But I wasn't going to tell my parents until I got a job. So I gave up my apartment, moved with my girlfriend, LaWanda, for like a month or two to save up some money to move, and moved. I ended up staying in White Plains. It was a girl who had, I think she had a small record deal. She lived in DC. And so she used to come to New York to record, and she stayed with this girl in White Plains. She introduced us, and I asked her if I can crash on her. She had 1 bedroom, mind you. I can crash in her living room and live in her living room on her pull-out couch for a year. And she said, yeah. So thank God that within like a week or two of being in New York, no, within the first week, I got a job. And so I stayed with her for a year, and then I moved to the Bronx, and the rest is history.
That is crazy. Okay,
yep.
So I don't think you know my friend Dawn Day, but she's a Howard alum too. She's younger than me though. But yeah, so she said HU, and Dawn lived in New York too. She was Egypt's assistant and worked for BLS. Yeah, and now she's in LA doing it big. I'm like, Dawn is a girl, and Dawn's from the D. How could I forget? Dawn's from the D.
Here's the thing. I was in LA. You know, LA's on my list. I just want to get these kids to.
I knew you were gonna say that.
And I'm out.
I knew you were gonna say that. East Coast people are like, no, we can't raise our children in LA. It's a little different. I mean, it's very different over there. That's all I can say.
It is, and you know, I've been going back and forth to LA for like over 20 years now.
Right.
And I feel like for me, like everyone says like it's so different when you live there. When you visit in and out, it's something, but when you live there, it's totally different. I think LA is a great place. I mean, the school districts, from what I hear, aren't that great. The school you got to figure out, but I just feel like for quality, I'm looking for a quality of life.
Yeah.
You know, I think
it's expensive.
It's expensive, but so is New York and New Jersey.
I know, so is New York. I know. And so is Chicago. I know, but
it's expensive, very expensive.
Yeah, I know. But you know what I tell people? I did a brunch in LA of all people that are from Detroit. I know a lot of people from Detroit that are there. And I was like, and something about us Midwesterners, it doesn't matter how far, where we go, whatever we do, we stay, especially Detroiters, we stay the same. One of my favorite Detroiters that has beyond made it is Lonnie Love. When I tell you that lady I didn't know her at Cass or in the Brewster Projects, but when I tell you she keeps it 100, she is so cool. I saw the real backstage at Essence Festival, and she saw me, and literally the girls are all leaving. She stopped, came and spoke to me and was like chewing the fat. And I'm just like, shouldn't she be? I mean, like, she's just so cool. She is always cool with me. She saw me in the audience, told the showrunner to get me so I could get a picture with them.
Oh,
and I saw her pointing at me, and I'm like, what's going on? Sure. I was like, oh, thank you. You know, she is the bomb. Okay. So yeah, I think that's the one thing I love about my people is that the Detroiters, we just Detroit.
Yeah. And when we keep it 100, like it's not like there's no phoniness to it. It is. We're like, it is what it is.
Just like I saw you at Essence, and I'm like, Joi, you're like, okay, whatever I got, I can get you. I'll try and get you in. And remember? Mm-hmm. And we went backstage. I was like, thank you, Joi. Let's just like, thank you, Joi. That's all we were like, that's all we wanted. Thank you.
Promise, but I'll try my best.
Right. She was like, I ain't gonna forget. If I got it, I will help you in. And she was like, I got you. So that's my thing. Like, we just keep it. I love Detroit. Like, I love Chicago. But I know Detroiters are not shady at all. It's like, okay, let
Yeah,
me
you
see
know,
what
you stand with them. That we're either with you or not.
or
Like
not.
there's no.
Okay.
Oh, I don't know.
Right.
Like no.
My friend said, I need you to consistently be one thing, either consistently be a jerk or consistently nice, but please don't confuse me in the middle.
Yeah, we're not middle players very often.
So when you started at Atlantic?
Atlantic Records. No, I didn't.
Okay.
I started at I was at Uptown Records. I'm an age myself. Ooh, girl, I'm an age myself.
Wow, really?
I was Heavy D's assistant. That's how I got
Stop
in.
it. Stop. I did not know that. Okay,
Yeah.
so besides music, we love Heavy.
Yeah.
Now, do you remember Music Land and Northland?
Yep.
So me and Alicia are at the hairdresser. What'd you say?
Those are my cousin's spot.
So me and Alicia are at the hairdresser. My mother would drop us off, and it was an all-day deal. It's Detroit. So she would drop us off, and they would play the radio at the salon. We heard Heavy D was going to be at Music Land. So we told my mom, this is before I could drive. We told my mom, can you please, when you pick us up, we need you to take us to Music Land. She's like, what? We're like, we need to go meet Heavy D. She thought we were nuts, but she did it. She took us. And I think she didn't go inside because I just remember me and Alicia being in line. But I have a Blue Funk poster that he signed.
Oh,
for camera phones and all that stuff. And when I tell you, when I found out that man died, I was upset. I watched that funeral because I was so sad.
Yeah,
I love
sad.
him.
That was sad. And you know what's so funny? So when I worked for him, I was his assistant, and so that was I had been an assistant before, and I actually worked at Howard University after graduation, but it was interesting because I remember being in LA. So this is years after I'm at Atlantic Records, been there, I came through Atlantic Records because of I was hired to. Okay, I have to back up. So I started with Hev, then I went to Motown for 2 years, and then I ended up going to Undies. Undies is a record label that Biggie started with his business partner or actually Un started with backing with Biggie. And so he had Junior Mop and Little Kim. I was hired to work with them. And so I started working with Little Kim, and that's how I got to know Atlantic Records, because Atlantic Records, they were signed to Atlantic Records. And so I'm in my, Little Kim is in her prime. During the time I worked with them, I run into Hev in LA because he had moved to LA years after working for him. And I was, it was just so nice to see him because I hadn't talked to him. I hadn't seen him. And he comes up to me and he goes, I just want to tell you, I'm so proud of you.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. He said, you knew what you wanted to do in the business, and just to see you do it, he goes, I'm so proud of you. And I was like, well, I was floored because he was a hard boss, him being this hard guy, but it was the kindest. All I could do is hug him and say thank you. The kindest, nicest person, and he would hit me once in a while and tell me he was in the studio and ask me what I thought about things. It was just nice to see how, he watched me grow up,
right.
Because I'm fresh out of college, get here, and I'm like, oh, my eyes are all open. I'm like, and then, to mature in the business, and then him to come back and have seen me do that. And he was just like, I just want you to know that I'm proud of you, because listen, when I got in the music business, people always say, it can be tough on women. Women can choose different ways to go, but I played the ethical route. I've always been ethical.
You person. And me both.
So it could have been, he could have heard rumors about me doing this and now, but he was like, I'm super proud of you. And so, yeah, that was it was a moment. And so it was, going back and I went to his funeral, of course. And then, seeing people who I felt like watched me grow up. It just warmed my heart to see that it was full. The room was full of love. People really loved him. And, he took care of a lot of people. I would say that. That's one thing about him I learned, is that he always looked out for his people. He always found a way for them to fit in whatever he was doing,
even
to like his detriment. Like he would find a way to like, you got, you know, if you were his person, he looked out for you. And so, you know, watching a heart like that in this business, you know, I didn't have far to go for an example. So
right. Yeah, we loved Heavy. My mother loved Heavy. Like we loved Heavy D. But that is crazy. I had no idea.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's funny you said Undies. Last night I discovered, don't ask me how I missed it, I didn't know a Biggie documentary came out this year. And I fell asleep on it, but I started it. It was really starting to get good. Don't talk about me, okay?
Okay, I won't.
When we finish, I'll catch you up on what we've been doing over here and why I'm in Michigan and been here since July. But yeah, so that's probably why I missed it. Okay. But I literally was like, Alicia, last night I started watching this Biggie documentary that looks really good. So I have to finish it. Oh, Bam. Do you know Bam? Music director at Power 92 in Chicago.
Yeah, I did work with Andre. I saw the question. Oh, the questions pop up. So let me tell you about Andre Harrell. So when I was at Motown, this is funny because this is way back in these days. Okay, so when I was at Motown, I worked there for 2 years. 1 year under Andre Harrell's leadership, and then the second year under George Jackson, may he rest in pieces, his leadership. And so when I was at Motown, I really didn't interact with Andre. I was a low fruit on a totem pole. Like I was an assistant. So I was running around, you know, with my head cut off, doing, you know, tasks, all kind of stuff. So I really didn't get to know him. When I got to know Andre was, when did I get to know him? So I started. So what happened back in the day when I was in music? Like there were conferences and that kind of stuff. And because I was Heavy's assistant, I was around the big leagues, the big guys all the time. Mm-hmm. So I was around Jay-Z, I was around Andre, I was around Russell and all them because they all hung together, right? But, you know, I stayed in my lane. Like I was an assistant. I don't need to be up in their business. Let me mind my business, stay over here. And so I got to know him really, really well because Leor Cohen brought him into Warner Music Group to do some stuff. And I got assigned to work with him to bring this stuff together for Andre. And so we have to meet and talk all the time. And, you know, he was one of the people like who I don't know. He just had this spirit that like, you could just talk to him. Like, and I don't know. I told him, I said, you know, you're like my uncle. Like that's how our relationship was. Like I would call him like, what do you think about this? And he would just keep it so funky and so real with you. Like I will say I miss him. I miss the fact that I could call him and he would like, you know, put it in Andre speak. You know, all his references were to the 80s and the 90s, but I got what he was trying to say. But he's a guy like I would call and say, I'm having a problem with this. And he'll be like, okay, call this person and tell him I said to call you. I told him to call you. Like he was never like, okay, I can't help you. Or his heart was so huge. And so, I mean, I owe a lot of culture creators to him because,
oh, wow.
Yeah. Because when we used to talk, I mean, he talks about Black culture all the time.
Yeah.
So we started having these long, in-depth conversations about culture and Black culture and what it means for us to really be involved in the ownership of it and the narration of it and helping each other. And so I remember when I started Culture Creators, the very first party, I called Andre. And I was like, Andre, this is what I want to do. And this was called. And he was like, do it. And he was the first person in the room.
That's awesome.
And he had been, and everything that I did, every culture creator thing that I did, Andre showed up.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. Awesome. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so unfortunate we lost so many people in this last year. It's just insane.
That's why we got people give people roses while they're here.
Exactly.
I mean, I wish I could give everybody awards, but you know,
yeah.
We've got to do a better job of lifting as we're climbing. right? We've got to do a better job of, I know people want to stay humble and do the work, but like, I think about my children, right? If my children don't see and know that, Dr. Renee is doing this and doing that, then they may think that's unattainable. And so my thing is, it's not necessarily about, beating your chest and being proud and saying, like that. No, it's about, okay, you open this door so that someone else can come behind you. And that's how we win. When we look at how people progress and those opportunities they have, we're smart about it. We do great business, then that door gets, it stays open, or should we knock the whole thing down and create a whole new opportunity, a whole new building?
Yeah.
And that's how we should think about wins and successes, and even our failures. We should be able to talk about our missteps, our mistakes, our, how we overcame things that was set us up to lose, but we overcame and we were winning. How can we collectively sit at the table and bargain and get what we deserve? How can what I see as my value help you increase your value? Like, that's how we win. And winning is not, to me, it's a team effort. It's not an individual effort, because, it's great that one person can get a deal with Discovery Networks, right? But until we have a president of Discovery Networks or MTV Networks or CBS that looks like us, then we're still knocking down doors. And that's what, to me, Culture Creators is really about. It's really about, in my own little way that I can, start having these conversations with our people about, let's come together. Let's collectively pull our money together. Let's collectively pull our ideas together. If you got this business idea over here and you're a tech person and you need to connect with a person and fund your idea, like, how we work together? How does that work?
Right.
And just introduce one another. Because I would say I'm guilty of it, and I'm trying to be much better. I'm guilty of putting my head down and working, and then you could become so siloed, right? But we have to lift our head up and look around and see, okay, this person over here could be a great, see, it's like cooking gumbo. You got to add a little of this, a little of this, a little of this, and then you get the season just right, and you got a perfect dish. So that's how I like to look at life, and how I'm trying to be better at looking at opportunities. Like, who can I bring in to, elevate this? Who can I bring in? Or who can I, and if I talk to you and I say, oh, well, you need to meet such and such, and then introduce people,
That is me 100% all day. That's what I do. And it's funny because, like, I've watched your stuff and I'm like, oh, you're working with Felicia. That's my sister friend. She's been on the show twice.
Mm-hmm.
You're working with Shanti. Shanti's been on the show twice. Like, these are my people. And I'm like, this is so cool that they're doing stuff. And, I love Silence to Shame. And I text Shanti tonight to tell her about this. But yeah, so that's why we had to, we talked about that. I volunteered with her at the All-Star game last year. She did an event outside of the game, and I volunteered with that.
That's one woman who, like, I can't tell her enough how proud I am of her.
She's so amazing.
And and just the humility that she has, and the grace that she has, and in this business, or in this society, period, to show up and be transparent and vulnerable, to say, I've gone through this is what I'm, and not, and not be shamed for it, or not, it's a power. To me, the power, I always tell people, there's trials in our there's stories and trials in our testimonies are triumphant for us, right? Because you never know, like, her telling her story, who she's saving. Right. You never know who hears about her trajectory, especially in our business, that the stakes are so, everything is so competitive and it's intense, and you're never really off. Like, you never know who's listening and like, okay, that's me too. And just needs their assurance and encouragement that to get help. And so I think, her platform, like, whenever she calls me to do something, I do it if I can, because I think it's so important. And that conversation is so long overdue, and I'm so happy that she's spearheading it and leading the charge. And yeah, I'm super proud of her.
And I tell everyone, mental health is just as important as your physical health. You know, you worried about your blood pressure and your cholesterol. You
It's just another thing.
mental health.
And
you gotta worry about it.
And I talk about that also too, that, if, TD Jakes had this, if you can look it up on YouTube, he did a conversation with a mental health professional. And he talked about that. He goes, and especially in our community, you take medicine for your diabetes, your high blood pressure. Why do you think there's something wrong with taking medicine for something that's going on, within your brain? Your brain is an organ just like your heart is, right? So you'd be quick to go to the cardiologist, something wrong with your heart, but you won't be quick to go to the doctor because something's wrong with your brain. Like, we have to retrain ourselves. We have been bamboozled. We have been hoodwinked into believing that, we have to suffer through, because back in the day we had to suffer through.
But we don't have to anymore.
If you got some good insurance, you better go get some good advice and talk to somebody. Because
even without insurance, there's ways to get it done, which is what I always talk about.
Absolutely.
There's all sorts of numbers to call and hotlines and etc. But I like that what you said about we have to, pull people up and work together. Alicia and I, we've talked about on the show, we're traders now, and we trade together. And collectively, we help each other to find trades and to help this one. This one doesn't understand trading quite as well. Let me help you figure this out, and we work together. And it's such an amazing community. And it's funny, we've not met most of the people we make thousands of dollars with, but we still, they are the bomb. And my money coach is watching. She commented, Draka Jones. I'm so grateful that I met her because
I need a money coach.
She is going to make certain that the Rockefeller Center, there would be the Matthews Center, because Draka is making sure that I get the bag. I am building quite a bag because of Draka, so God bless her. But
invest that money in Detroit.
What'd you say?
I said, go back and invest some of that money in Detroit.
Yes, yeah. We had Alicia's real estate mentor on, and he doesn't live here anymore, but girl, all his investments are here. Yep. Yep. And he's just, they turning over neighborhoods between him and all his students that live in Detroit. So
smart.
Yeah,
so smart.
Exactly. So please tell people what exactly it is you do at Atlantic Records.
Are you talking about family? Like, what do you do? So I do brand partnerships. And so how I explain it to people who may not know what that is. So I would say I'm a glorified salesperson. So, and who I'm selling our artists and their music. I work with brands to help them develop music strategy if they don't have it. And I pitch brands, artists ideas, or I'll hit them with, artist music. So for example, from like Coca-Cola to, let's say, Beats by Dre to, you name it. If there's a place for music, we try to uncover it, right? And so if you think about all the places you hear music in the doctor's office, you hear music in the elevator, you can hear music there's in commercials, even online commercials, right? So we do a lot of what they call social media deals, where an artist posts or does some content for a brand. Name and likeness deal, which means like that's like a endorsement deal for artists. We do that. Yeah. So it's looking for opportunities for them to grow their audience, introduce a brand's audience to their fan base, use the brand's audience to widen their fan base, create more awareness for them, create more awareness for their music. A great ad like that uses one of our songs, if it's a great spot, can drive sales for that song and awareness for the artist. So we look for those type of opportunities.
Awesome sauce. So I remember what was it? Who was it with was it Kmichelle with the liquor?
Oh, with Jack, he still has that deal. Yep.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, that was a good deal, because people don't understand how long it takes, energy it goes into pitching artists. People ask me all the time, oh, will you do this? Do you do side artists? No, because it takes a lot of time. We have a huge roster at Atlantic Records. I haven't got time to pitch nobody else other than who we have.
Right.
That deal took 1.5 years to even come to the table. So that's a year and a half of talking to them, doing little bitty things with her and them to convince them that she was well worth the investment to do a bigger deal. That was a year and a half of time to do that one deal. And that was a great deal because one, she's the first woman they've ever done a deal with like that. And she's the first African American that's done a deal like that. So that deal actually broke the door open for all these other people who are now doing business with them.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
But again, that was a year and a half to 2 years in the making.
Wow. Yeah, I think, they say, overnight success was actually 10 years in the making.
Yeah. People always say, yeah. And people even like Cardi, who people want to say she's an overnight success, but she grinded so hard for so long that it was just a matter of lining up the dominoes in the right order for them to, to make sense, but people, and even I could say, even for example, Lizzo, God bless her, that she those songs, when she blew up, those songs had already been 2 years old. And so we're like, where y'all been? Like I told you, she was hot 2 years ago.
Right.
But sometimes it just takes time. And it takes a lot of time and energy to pitch artists, to convince brands. Because, sometimes you think about most brand people, they don't live and breathe music like I do.
Right.
So then you have to educate them on the artist, show them who their fan base are, invite them to a show, have them meet the artist, take them to dinner. You have to. It's a courting process.
Yeah,
it really, really is. And you can't court everybody. So that's why I can't do other artists outside of what I do. First of all, I can't. I know I'm sure there's people from Atlantic Records on here. I would never do that, but. But for everybody else, it's too much hard work.
Yeah. And you have a life outside of work. Praise the Lord.
I got kids.
Yes.
And and all other stuff. I got things to do.
Yeah. Praise the Lord. But
praise the Lord. You said that
some people, some people are so focused on the job that they forget about life outside of the job. So I'm glad that you have balance, that you understand you got to do everything. I
don't have perfect balance. I'm trying my best. Like the reason why we push this back is because my niece, I went to her bridal shower. She's from Detroit, but her fiance is in upstate New York. So I drove to upstate New York to spend time with them. And then I said, you know what? I said, let me not shortchange myself. Let me push this back or move it to another day so I can accommodate both. But if anything we should have learned in COVID is that time is precious, and
Amen.
And that's one thing you cannot get back. You can't rewind it. You can't force it to go faster. You can't force it to go slower. And so these moments that we're in, we have to enjoy them. When you said in the earlier of your conversation about we have this one life and we have to live it, that is so me. You have to live life to its fullest. And when things come your way, like the stuff you talked about earlier about that, you're working on. Mm-hmm. When those things come up in your life and you have the opportunity to do it, if it don't kill you, try. There's nothing wrong with risking. My biggest worry in life is that I never want to live a woulda, coulda, shoulda. I don't want to get 80 years old. I'm like, I coulda, or I would have been, or I shoulda. I want to be like, I did that, I failed, and then I tried this, and this was great. So, I want.
No, that's my philosophy. You know what I always tell people? I said, if it's not going to harm you or others, do it.
Yeah. You can't be afraid to, I tell you, I tell my kids all the time, I said, I'm not afraid of you failing. I'm afraid that you're not going to try. If you have to, the road to success is built with failure,
mm-hmm.
So just accept it, learn the lesson, and keep going.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you have to keep it. There's nothing that, and just like you said, you studied something totally different than what you do now. Totally different. But how many people would say, well, I don't have a degree in that, so I can't do that. Or I need to go back to school to get this degree to do that. No, you don't have to.
And there's such thing as experience, and especially what I've realized now dealing with a lot of HBCU students and HBCUs is that there's nothing can replace real, timely, in the moment knowledge. because we move so quickly. Even, the advertising space, the marketing space, things pivot, and audibles are called. We may be doing one thing one way this week, and next week we're doing a whole different way. And so if you think that you're going to learn just by getting your MBA and, okay, I should be able to walk in and get any job I want because I have MBA, you got to live and breathe it, because it's great that you learn that, but by the time you come and apply some real world to that, things may have changed. So you can't, don't get stuck thinking things have to be a certain way and you have to be a robot and you have to do this. Just do it all. Like, I'm not saying go get the MBA, but also figure out, apply some stuff you're learning in real world. Go out, intern, work for people, volunteer for people, ask people who you respect, how can you help them? Because that experience, it's invaluable. It's gonna, after that experience is gonna, when you go for the job, that experience you're gonna get is gonna separate you from the person who got their MBA over here too.
Definitely.
And relationships too.
Yes, true. So for culture creators, you told us a little bit about it. Please tell us exactly and tell us about the event that's coming up in a few weeks.
So culture creators started because I just started to see people in our business who we weren't really networking. We don't have any conferences and stuff like that anymore. So we don't really have a chance to like all get together, celebrate one another, have a good time. And then I just realized too that we have a whole generation of young people who didn't grow up under Andre Harrell's and didn't see what the heyday looked like to just rub elbows with senior leadership.
Or the grind that Diddy did to get where he is.
Right. They're not exposed to that. So there's not a culture of like reaching back and pulling forward. And I just wanted to change that. And so I started off doing parties because the idea was let's celebrate one another. Let's celebrate. Let's have a good time. And let's all be in a room. No VIP section. Everyone invited is a VIP, right? So it didn't matter who you were. You're in the room. If you're in the room, you're a VIP. It does not matter. And so I started doing parties, and then I did my first award show in 2016, and I wanted to give people roses while we're here, and I wanted to encourage me to lift as they climb. And so, like, some of my first honorees were Valicia, Angela Rye, Charlemagne, Ethiopia Habitamarian, Kristen Fraser, Chris Atlas, James Lopez. So this year we should have been our 6th year, but because of COVID, we sat out last year. So we're coming back. Actually, God willing, we're doing it live at the Beverly Hilton on June 26th. And we have some really great honorees that I am not going to tell.
Okay.
Coming. And the great thing is that the world will be able to see it live on YouTube. And we'll let you know the details on that as well.
Awesome. And I will post. Everyone, please make sure you join my list because I'll make sure I send it out as well. The funny thing is, I think one time I was in the same city as she was having culture creators. But like I said, she is not shady. I text her and was like, Joi, she goes, there is not a seat left. I said, that's fine.
Yeah.
She's like, not a ticket left. I said,
not a ticket left, not a seat. Listen. And this year it's going to be even worse because of COVID. So they cut down. So you got to cut the numbers down. Yeah. I have to cut the numbers down. And so I'm like, yeah, it is what it. I mean, I wish I could invite everybody. I wish that I could honor everybody. I tell people all the time, it's coming. Like I only have I have a capacity, and I have a time
budget. You have, and then COVID.
And it's no shade to anybody. It's, trust me, if I could do it big and trust me, would do it.
She will soon one day. Watch. Speak it into existence.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So Bam said you have to be invited. You have to be invited. And she said, is there a website?
Yeah. So culturecreators.com is our website. But we post most of our stuff on Instagram, which is at the Culture Creators. That's where we keep going. Oh, but I am excited to tell people about Culture Insiders. So Culture Insiders, we are looking for HBCU students or young people who are culture creators, who are in their own right leaders, whether it's in a community, if they have an amazing business, or just, just have an amazing story that we should know about, we're actually going to honor a young student at the awards this year.
Wow. Okay, that's cool.
Yep. So if you go to our Instagram account, you can get the details. We're asking people to post why they are a culture insider, a culture future, and tag us. And we're going to be looking for those students. And you never know, might be calling you to tell you won. Not necessarily, but we recognize you.
Yeah, I volunteer with Save a Girl, Save a World, and we work with Clark Atlanta. And it's all girls. So I am going to make certain that the girls find out about this, and hopefully we get some entries from some of the girls, because they are some amazing women that we work with. But yeah, so that's what Culture Creators is, and that's what
the Instagram is at the Culture.
Thank you. See, I have to listen. Hold on.
If anyone who has at Culture Creators want to give it to me, I appreciate it. But it's at the Culture Creators.
I know how that is too.
Just put it out there.
Right, exactly. Go look up at Dr. Renee. Okay, but we won't talk about it. But yeah, so that's really cool, and that is going to be awesome. And then you'll fly them out, or what?
Yeah, so either, depending on where they are, we either fly them out or they're going to Skype them into the actual awards.
Okay, awesome, awesome. Yeah, that is so cool. And I love the technology piece. So YouTube, that is really cool. So I'm excited because, Essence is doing theirs virtual too this year again. So we'll be watching that. That's the same weekend, actually. So we're watching that. They're doing theirs 2 weekends, the last weekend of June, first weekend of July. So yes, I love the virtual piece because right now I can't really fly and go places. So the virtual piece has been very helpful. I went to the Silence of the Shame Awards because of the virtual piece as well. So yeah, it's just amazing. But my guest coming this month is Stephen Russell Hart of Troop, which was signed to Atlantic Records before your time, though. I know that. But he's coming to this show this month.
Oh wow.
And so that was one of my clients. So that was not a hard ask.
Wow.
But and then other music people, we have DJ Wiz this month too from Kid and Play.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and they just opened the Hip Hop Museum, so I'm very excited.
Yes. And also too, I would encourage people too. There's the National Museum of African American Music in Nashville. Y'all, to go. It's incredible. It's incredible.
I have heard.
It tells our story from Africa all the way to current day, and how our music is American music. And so I know this, June is Black Music Month. Yeah. So people really need to, if you're in Nashville or can make it there, please. It's interactive. It's so dope.
I have heard, and I can't wait to go because I haven't even been to the museum in DC, the African American Museum in DC, so Smithsonian. So I got to get to these places. But
I didn't go there yet.
Because my life is my life. It's crazy.
Okay.
Look, and there's a lot of places I land, but DC just wasn't one of the places I kept getting to. So I will get there.
Girl, and make sure you get the food.
Oh, really?
Girl. I'm sorry to say this, but every time I go there, the best part of it, I mean, it's a great museum. No, it's great.
Right.
But the food.
So we have to talk about your amazing daughter. So first of all, she has twins, which I think is so amazing.
Yeah, they're fraternal. People are like, they're twins? They think they're cousins. They're fraternal.
I was like, one must look like dad because
they both look like me. No, they both look like me.
You're so silly. But so I mean, when did you have them in this lovely career?
Yeah. I mean, listen, they're 15 going on 25. I love this stage of them because, I can have real life conversation. We talk about real life things and like today, like my daughter gave me some really good advice. I didn't end up listening to her. I ended up doing it, but like she gave me some really great sage advice. I was like, are you really listening to me? So you have these moments where like, am must not be a terrible mom. You know, it's been in this business has been challenging because of the amount of travel and time away from them, which COVID has been an extreme blessing for me. I don't think that I've spent this amount of time with them since maternity leave. So it's been beautiful to, you know, reset our relationship, especially as they walk into now being 16 soon, and 2 more years of high school. I don't know if I ever have this moment in time again. And so I really enjoyed this past year. It took an adjustment, but I really enjoyed being the mom here and being able to, be in the house and with them and the quality time. I'll never have this moment with them again. And so I'm enjoying it. I'm sad to say that I have to go back to the office full time in September, but I guess every good thing comes to an end. But I hope that the opportunity that we've got to spend together this past year becomes a great memory for them. And it's been really invaluable for me. Like I can't say how much I loved being home with them.
That's awesome. So where did you have them in the career? Like you were at Atlantic?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I've been like all my life. I feel like I'm a lifer.
You've seen all the people coming up.
I'm a lifer.
So, so where would you like to take culture creators?
Ooh, yeah. So, good question. So, globally, my next step is global. I want to connect the dots because so much of what we do and what we're influenced by comes from Africa. So I think I would be remiss if I didn't go back and trace all this back to tell the story of why Black culture is so important to the world, and how our Black culture is influenced and comes from African culture, and our stories and connect the dots. Listen, the African diaspora is massive, and so that tells me that there's so many places for us to go. There's so many stories still out there in the world that we have yet to touch and to tell. There's so many people who are influenced by the things that we do across business, fashion, film, sports. And so tapping into other countries and other cultures, and building bridges, honestly, across different cultures, we it's great to say that, Black culture, we know that it's trendy, right? It leads trend from every cell, kind of thing. But I also want to use this as an opportunity to create more inclusive environments, which means, bring people to the table who don't look like us to talk about Black culture. And so you'll see more of us bringing different, ethnic groups in and having conversation. And, I'm really sincere and serious about making sure that we're creating a better future for our young ones. I'm passionate about kids. And so that's why this stuff that we've been doing with HBCUs has been so important. And so we will start soon, even going into the high school level. And our goal is to create a pipeline of opportunity and a pipeline of talent for anybody out there who's looking to hire, employ, empower young creative minds.
Awesome. And you know what, you guys, she also has done some TV production work too. And what was it that you produced? I can't remember now.
I don't know. What are you talking about?
It was some special and your name was in the credits. We were watching and I remember I texted you. What show was that?
Who knows?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
I don't remember.
And I remember because we talked about, I was like, I might want to do this producing thing. And you were like, yeah.
I love producing. Yeah. So film and TV, like, that's another space. I love it. Like, I just can't wait to like really get my production hat in the ring for real.
Yeah. But I think like even what you're saying with culture creators, I think there could be some sort of something.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, we already have some ideas. We actually have a treatment that we need to go out and start pitching. But yeah, I'm super excited about, the stories that we can tell. And I'm excited about it. I'm excited about it.
Well, thank you so much. This was amazing. And thank you everyone that watched live. And if you're watching the replay, I hope you please enjoy. Oh, and I know I have to tell everyone she is a Delta because somebody's going to say, she said SOARS. What sorority?
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Yes, I'm sorry.
Alpha Maid, as they say, at Howard University. And so
number 7.
What number?
7.
Yes.
7's are a powerful number.
Okay. Yes, 7s are. Yes. So you guys, thank you so much for joining me. And I will please make sure you subscribe to my channel.
Yes, please do. Support her.
And make sure you get on my email list, and then you'll know who's coming next Saturday. And we'll be back on Saturday at 3:00. And thank you guys so much. And in case you're welcome.
Thank you.
And in case you guys haven't, don't forget to go buy Mommy I Can't Breathe. It's at mommyican'tbreathe.com. In case you need a reminder, there's the website. Don't forget to get your pre-order copy because I will autograph those. But once it hits all the other retailers, I won't be signing those. But I'm going to sign the ones that I send out myself. So I hope you guys will go get my book. And this week, Chicago, I will be on Windy City Live on Tuesday. So please tune in. I will be on Tuesday on Windy City Live with Val and Ryan. And Detroit, I'm coming on TV for you soon, but we'll announce that later. But thank you so much. Bye, everyone.